Hi guys, and welcome to this session by Intellipaat. So the topic on our hand today is how to become an RPA developer. But before we get into the depth of this, please subscribe to our channel to never miss an update from Intellipaat. So let's talk about what the flow will be for tonight's session. So we'll be starting off by answering who is an RPA developer. Well, we talk about what is RPA and what does an RPA developer basically do. And from there, we'll talk about what are the job trends for an RPA developer, and we're going to be discussing both pre-corona and post-corona so that you get a zest of things about how the jobs are right now and how you can expect them to be in the future. And that will be the second section. From there, we'll move on and talk about what are the skills that you need in order to become an RPA developer. So these are the skills that we mapped across different job descriptions that we went about, and that will be the third section. And from there we'll talk about which RPA tools you should learn, and finally we'll be talking about how you can get started with your career in RPA. So that is about the agenda, guys. I hope that is very clear to you. So without wasting any further time, let's just get into the session. So who is an RPA developer? To understand who is an RPA developer, let's understand what is RPA first. So RPA basically stands for Robotic Process Automation. So as you can understand, these are three different words. So let's break it down to understand this term much more clearly. So RPA is Robotic Process Automation, where robotic stands for anything that mimics a human action. Process is a set of sequential actions which leads to a desired result, and automation is anything which is done without human intervention. So in short, robotic process automation is a set of sequential actions which are done by a robot which do not require any kind of human intervention. A very good example would be, let's say if I had to open a website and get the best stock, the stock which has risen the most, if there is some website that uploads it, and I just need to gather that data every day and just put it on my Excel sheet. I can do it manually, or I can create an RPA program which basically gets this logic of the sequential actions which are opening the website, going to the particular website, scrolling through the required particular data point, copying the data point and pasting it to your Excel sheet, saving the Excel sheet and mailing it somewhere. So this is the set of sequential actions. You can create this RPA program by simply dragging and dropping some options in this RPA tool. So RPA tools are the tools through which you perform this robotic process automation. These tools basically help you create the logic, and once you have created a logic and you run that program, they automatically launch a bot that will perform that set of sequential actions that you have defined. And once it is done, your automation is automatically achieved. And the task is done without any kind of error. So that is what basically robotic process automation is. So who is an RPA developer? So anyone who designs those logics or patterns and creates those programs using an RPA tool to achieve that set of sequential actions is an RPA developer. And these are the people who are involved with the design, development, as well as the implementation of these entire systems. And these professionals basically are responsible for solving day-to-day activities which are tedious and repetitive. So if your enterprise has any kind of a repetitive, tedious task that you have to do, which has to be performed using a computer, you can automate them through an RPA tool. So while saying that, every industry which is out there, may it be IT or may it be banking systems or healthcare or whatever, every industry has a lot of set of sequential actions which are repetitive and done every day. So that is why RPA is a big hit, is a big boom, because it does not require you to change whatever the infrastructure that you are using. Let's say your company uses Excel, or it is using LibreOffice, or is it using something else to do a set of sequential actions, or it could be validating forms or whatever. RPA just comes on the top of it. It leverages the software that you are already using and it automates them. So that is why RPA is a huge hit, because it does not require you to change your entire infrastructure, while automating the tasks, making it more efficient, eliminating human error, as well as building efficiency. That is why RPA is a huge hit, and people who design these programs are the RPA developers. Now let's move along and talk about the job trends and salary of an RPA developer. So we've seen a lot of changes in job trends pre and post corona, and we'll be discussing that in here. And we'll be talking about what was the projected numbers and how it looks like, and what are the salary in this section. So let's quickly dive into that. So if McKinsey and company are to be believed, and believe me, McKinsey is one of the best consulting companies out there, they say that RPA would be taking 140 million jobs by 2025. So McKinsey and company believe that there are 140 million jobs in the world which depend on people doing repetitive tasks. May it be, let's say, form validation or your health insurance form validation, or anything else, or data entry or anything of that form. They believe that there are 140 million jobs out there and RPA will be consuming those jobs. So this doesn't mean RPA is evil. Since they are eliminating a job, they are creating a job as well. So there will be requirement for RPA developers, RPA business analysts, RPA process gathering, process designers, and automation architects, product managers. So they'll be opening a lot of new high skilled jobs, and these jobs will be much more paying than the old 140 million jobs which they have. They will be having more pay because this is a skilled job that they are doing now, and hence the automatic pay scale will be increasing. So RPA will provide those, you can say, replacement for those jobs through more paid jobs which are more skilled for the people who know RPA. So let's move along and talk about why RPA is such a hit. As I mentioned before, there will be a set of sequential actions which will be in about every industry, may it be manufacturing, insurance, healthcare, banking, telecommunication, IT, a lot of different, like reports creation, or let's say sending an email, triggering some tasks. A lot of different things are out there, right, for every industry which they have to do. Now, since they are in every industry, there is a requirement for this. So since every company can save a lot of money implementing RPA, so all of these different industries are now using RPA. So what does this do for you? So as a developer or as a person who knows RPA, this is a very interesting prospect that there will be jobs across various different sectors for you at all times. IT will be requiring RPA developers, healthcare professionals will require RPA developers, manufacturing industry, banking industry. So you have a lot of different options because these industries will have different companies, and you can apply across domains, and you can keep working with different kinds of domains, learn new things, expand and grow in your career. And maybe in the future you could be an entrepreneur and you would be knowing to learn all of these things. So this is a very, very crucial point when it comes to RPA, that it is spread across domains, which enables you to have jobs across fields, which enables a lot of different jobs for a lot of potential candidates. So that is a very good perspective to have post corona. So you will be having jobs across the fields. So basically, if you start learning RPA right now, you will be a little bit ahead of the curve and little bit closer to landing those required and the jobs that you deserve. Let's move along and see. I have this a graph right here which will back up all of my claims. So on the left hand side, you are seeing the $4,500 million industry will be there. So this is how the industry will be expanding. So they believe that the market for RPA is increasing, and by 2024 it will hit around 4,500 million. And this is a huge amount of credit for an industry. And you can see, and this is spread across domains. So there will be telecommunication, others, healthcare, retail, manufacturing. So every industry will be adopting it, and hence there will be a huge rise across the industry. So you will be having a lot of different jobs. So this is the graph to replicate that and back up the fact that I was saying so far. So let's talk about the number of jobs which are out there. So these statistics which are on your screen right now, this is before corona. So you can see all the big industry giants like IBM, Accenture, SAP, Oracle, Tech Mahindra, Flipkart, Capgemini, L&T Infotech. A lot of different big companies in the names are in here. Now these are hiring RPA developers. As you can see, there is 1,855 openings for Capgemini for RPA developers, or 669 in IBM India itself. So you can imagine the number of jobs which were pre-corona. And on the right hand side of your screen, you can see jobs available across USA before corona. So there was a lot of different openings for RPA developers before corona. And these numbers have taken a hit. So has across the industry, a lot of hiring has been frozen, but still there is a requirement for RPA developer. If you search for RPA developers right now, and my statistics will back you up, these are the statistics from Naukri.com and Indeed.com that we have picked up, and these are the numbers right now. So a little bit there's a down, the numbers have gone down, no, that's for sure. You can see IBM India from 669 have dropped down to 60, and big companies have come down, that is for sure. But there are a lot of different companies which are hiring, because you can see in Bangalore alone there are 7,095 openings right now. So a lot of different startups and new companies which are not such huge names are adopting RPA across the domain, and there will be a requirement for that. So you will be having jobs, and as the corona period ends, those openings across Capgemini, IBM, Flipkart, Oracle, all the big names will come back up. So that is something which is a very interesting prospect, and there are new kinds of jobs which are opening for RPA developers. Now there is an interesting perspective of being an RPA business analyst or a product manager for that matter, and there is a lot of different kinds of roles that you can apply when you learn RPA. Not just the development perspective, you could be on the management side of things using RPA now. So that is something which is very interesting and exciting as an RPA developer myself, for me to have that fact behind RPA, that there will be such huge amounts of openings for different kinds of roles, so that you know that in your career future, when you move along, there will be a lot of opportunities for you to grow. So that is about that. So let's move along, talk about the salaries of an RPA developers. So a fresher would be getting a salary of around 65,000. This is the median salary, so it could be up or down from there. This is the median salary that we have mentioned here. If you are from USA, $65,000 is you are looking at when you are joining as a fresher, and by fresher we mean 0 to 3 years of experience. And experienced developer are looking at 100,000 salary. Of course, there are people who earn north of that, around 120,000, 135,000 and stuff like that, but having said that, these are the median salaries. And if you are from India, you are looking at a figure of 6 LPA when you are starting in India, and it could be less or more depending on how much expertise and which company and what kind of role you are applying for. And once you become an experienced developer, you are looking at a 14 LPA salary, which is decently very good for a relatively new technology, right? So let's move along and talk about the skills which are required for an RPA developer. So far we have discussed who is an RPA developer and what are the salary trends, so that you know that this is a future protected job. Now let's talk about how you can become an RPA developer. What skills are required for you in order to become that RPA developer. So this comes across for any programming job or any IT sector job with respect to development. You will be requiring strong problem solving skills as well as analytical skills, because a lot of the part of the programming is problem solving. So they'll be giving you some requirements. Okay, this is the requirement. You have to think across, okay, I have these tools in my bag, these are the knowledge that I have, how do I use that to solve this problem? And that is where your analytical skills as well as your problem solving skills comes into the picture. So having good problem solving skills and analytical skills is very, very, very important. And this is not something that everybody has in the bag as they are born. This is something that you develop. So as you move along and work with RP and do a lot of different kinds of projects, different kinds of hands-on exercises, different practices, you see different kinds of things being developed, you build that knack on your own. So it is all about practice. So as soon as you practice, keep on practicing and seeing different kinds of problem and developing RPA and products, then you will easily develop these two things. This is not something which is that difficult to create. Next comes the knowledge of C# or .NET. So a lot of companies these days are demanding from their RPA developers that they have a background in .NET particularly, or C#. There are other scripting languages that they mention, but .NET and C# are something which is fairly relevant in across the domains, because a lot of people who are coming in this domain are also automation architects. So people who have worked with automation before in let's say Selenium or any other programming language for that matter, or testing for that matter, they have this experience across the board in these domains. And UiPath and some tools are also written in these languages. They require you to have the little bit of knowledge of .NET and C# that will enable you to learn things faster. But having said that, this is not that much of a requirement, but this is a very much added benefit that you can have on your resume, which will boost your chances to land those RPA developer jobs. Other three skills which are very important is, first of all, business acumen. So as I mentioned before, RPA is spread across industries, right? So there is healthcare, there is manufacturing, there is retail, there is IT, there is telecommunication, there is banking. So whatever the field that you are working in, you need to have a business acumen for that. You need to understand what your business does and how it functions, so that you can solve the problems based on your industry, what is required for your industry, what is the standard of programs in your industry, so that you can create the programs which are on that standard level that you need in the industry right now. So having that business acumen is very important, and this goes across for any job that you are landing. The field that you are in, you must have a lot of knowledge about it. Let's say if you're doing a business in food or food services, then you must understand what is the good about the food that you are selling and what is the demand for it, what customers want, or any other field for that matter. You must understand what is the customer's requirement, and you can only develop that when you have good business acumen. Second thing, which is very more important again, is good grasp over one or more RPA tools. It's, as you can see across the industry right now, so there are a lot of different RPA tools, and we'll be discussing that in the next section. So there are a lot of different RPA tools which are out there in the world. There are three market leaders which we'll be discussing in the next section. So a lot of companies these days require you to have knowledge on at least one, and preferably one or more. So at least two, I would say, you should have in your bag. When you're going deeper in your career, I would say learn two or more tools in RPA, so that it opens up more opportunities, because different companies use different kinds of RPA tools, and having knowledge in that gives you a fair advantage when it comes to landing those jobs. But having said that, knowledge in any of one of the tools and expertise in one of the tools can help you land the job at the starting point, but learning one or more would definitely benefit your career. And finally, communication skills. This comes across again for any job. When you are creating program, you will be talking to the shareholders who do not have programming experience. They will just give you requirements. Okay, I want this to be done, and you have to talk to them and understand what their actual problem is and how you're going to solve about it. And when you create that solution, you have to explain your solution as well, so that it is understandable for every stakeholder. And you have, as an RPA developer, you will be requiring to talk to different product analysts who will be gathering requirements from the stakeholders, and you will be working across domains with different developers and different kinds of people who may or may not have programming experience. So you need to have communication skills in the back, so that you can explain what your program is doing. So these are the most important skills when it comes to becoming an RPA developer. Now let's talk about which tools to learn. So there are, as I mentioned before, there are so many tools in RPA, a lot of different tools doing very good in today's world. And there are three certain tools which are the market leader in the world right now, and we're going to be discussing about these three tools. So one is UiPath, the other is Automation Anywhere, third is Blue Prism. Before I get into the depth of these three are again outstanding tools, very good tools, all three. I'm just gonna compare and contrast them with respect to learning them. So again, UiPath, what it does is gives you a visual designer, and Automation Anywhere does not. So what is a visual designer? So basically, understand that if you are someone who has programming background, it would be easier to understand that if you see a script or any programming language, any code which is written, it executes it line by line by line. When you have something which represents text information line by line by line, that is a basic scripting environment, and that is what Automation Anywhere provides. Whereas a visual designer is something you drag and drop, and you see how it looks on the screen. And if, let's say, if there is a loop of things which are happening inside of one function, you can see that just through your program. If you look at on top of it, you will see boxes, and you will have boxes inside of boxes. So it is fairly easy to use and debug with visual designer. So UiPath and Blue Prism provide visual designers which are very good. And in terms of user friendliness, I'd rate of UiPath number one, and other two are a little bit on the tougher side of things to learn, in my opinion. But UiPath is very easy. It's very easy to learn that. Other than that, all three are very good tools, highly reliable, highly scalable. A lot of different companies are using Blue Prism, but the only fact that I would like to compare it on is the learning ability. So basically, UiPath gives you the free access for their community edition, so you can basically download the community version and you can start working with it, learn how RPA works for free. So you don't have to do anything, you don't have to pay anything upfront, you can just learn it very easily by your own. coming to Automation Anywhere, it gives you a free trial version for some number of days, and for those number of days you have access to learn Automation Anywhere, and it gives you a very good insight of how the tool works, and it's very easy to learn as well. And it having those number of days also benefit you that you can learn for free and you can understand if this is something that you want, right? The problem with Blue Prism is there is no free versions available out there. So if you want to learn Blue Prism, you have to pay, and you have to get the software and start learning it. So no free version is something which keeps Blue Prism on the side when it comes to learning. So in my opinion, if you want to learn RPA, go for UiPath or Automation Anywhere. See if this is something that excites you, and if you are interested, then you can move along with the Blue Prism. And this is just behind the simple fact that you don't have to pay to learn these two different tools, whereas for Blue Prism you have to pay. That is that. And let's move on and talk about the learning path. So when it comes to learning RPA, so there are a few different things that you need to learn, that is C# and stuff like that, but majorly you need to pick and choose which tool to learn and start learning that tool inside out. So in my opinion, what you should do is, there is a lot of free content available online, and we at Intellipaat, we understand that an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. That's why we provide a lot of free content in the form of blogs for our readers, and YouTube tutorials for the people who are interested in watching video tutorials. So you can ask for it in the chat as well. For RPA, UiPath and Automation Anywhere, a lot of different things are already available. So what I would recommend is go ahead and start learning from there and see if this is something which excites you. And if that is that, or if you already know that this is something that this is what I want to do in future, then my recommendation would be join a certification training with us. And through that certification training, basically what you get is hands-on experience on the tool. You get real-time projects, so you work on a lot of different projects which will be relevant for your industry as well. So why I recommend online certification program is basically it not only readies you for clearing the certification exam, but also makes you industry ready, which is very important. So if you have, let's say, certification in the bag, the person whoever is hiring you would know that you have gone through vigorous training and experience, that you have credibility to your knowledge, and you can hit the ground running. So that is the only difference that it brings. So it nudges your resume above the others who do not have that certification. So that is what I would recommend if you are looking to learn RPA. So with that, I've come to the end of this presentation. So if you have any queries, the numbers on your screen, you can dial or chat with us at any time that you want. And with that, I've come to the end of this presentation, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and people who are on webinar with us right now, please hold on. My colleagues are out there, and they will be taking your questions now. So over to you, guys.